Hey Gokul, thank you very much for coming into our NTT iCubed offices in Palo Alto. I really appreciate your time.
Absolutely, great to be here.
I actually wanted to take some time and talk to you about how startups and enterprises can actually work together. There's a lot of interest in the Valley about engaging with startups as a large enterprise company, and vice versa. Startups obviously want to work with enterprises, but the marriage is always not correct. And so we want to figure out what is the right mechanics for both of them to succeed.
Yeah, both of us have worked in startups and large enterprises, right? And on paper, it seems like a match made in heaven. Startups are great at building new products, conceptualizing new products, while enterprises are really good at scaling products, at getting them to market, their distribution, they have money, all of that stuff. So in theory, it should be a match made in heaven, but many times it doesn't work out that way.
And it actually seldom works. There are very few startups that have actually succeeded in doing that, and the ones who do succeed actually succeed very well. So there is obviously some magic in this. Personally speaking, I think there are some ground rules that large enterprises need to follow, and vice versa. Startups need to also understand what's the real motivation for a large enterprise to actually work with a startup. My immediate observation is large enterprises actually inundate startups with dealing with them as if they are a large vendor. And large vendors are used to dealing with lawyers and have their own legal teams and have a set process for following paperwork, whereas startups actually aren't equipped with that. So one of the few ground rules that I think as a large enterprise we need to follow is understand the mindset of a startup and not inundate them with this kind of paperwork.
That's right. Startups, the number one scarce commodity they have is time, their own bandwidth. And these processes, if you think of them as a large vendor, they can't really ever pass your IT security process or other vendor onboarding process.
Yeah.
So you've got to be cognizant and respectful of their time. And in order to do that, you've got to make sure you take them through a streamlined process. But I think it even starts earlier than that. I think a lot of large enterprises, they say they want to work with startups, but very few of them actually think about building relationships with startups. You've got to first go and scan the market and build relationships with the startups, because ultimately all of these things are not done company to company, they're done person to person. The startup needs to find a champion at the large enterprise, and the large enterprise needs to find a like-minded person at the startup who want to work together, because ultimately that's the only way the collaboration works. I'm sure when you were at a startup, you probably found the right champion. Without the champion at the large enterprise, enterprise is just a faceless monolith.
I've always believed missionaries and mercenaries exist between both startups and large enterprises. It's the missionaries that actually take the product from a mission perspective and saying, okay, this actually solves a repeatable problem across. Let's invest in the startup, time, money, whatever it takes to understand, fine-tune, and then take it to market. If you take a very mercenary approach of working with a startup saying, I'm going to take this product from this startup that'll help me sell something, it never works out.
I completely agree. I think the mission-driven or vision needs to be shared between the two companies. They need to have alignment around, we want to serve this kind of customer. Mm-hmm. And once you're aligned around it, then you don't let things like financial stuff and so on come in the way, because your strategy, your mission, your vision is more aligned. So I think it always needs to start from a point of vision and mission alignment, and then the other things will work themselves out, because there will always be bumps along the way, but those bumps can be solved if your vision and mission are aligned. The other thing that I've seen come up is starting small. So a lot of startups try to boil the ocean, or the large enterprise will try to do a lot. So a small success story that you can come up with and work to figure out what that is, what the success criteria are, is always a good way to dip your toes and start working together versus trying to do something really large scale. Because again, startups don't have the ability to do something large scale. They want to respect and preserve their bandwidth. I think it's good to start with something small and something that can be measured, but something that is bite-sized chunk versus something that's massive.
Yeah, absolutely.